Peter woke up to find the morning sun peeking through the tin flap. Blinking hard as the light nearly blinded him, he rolled out of bed and stepped outside. The party that was sent out to rescue Edmund last night was just galloping over the hill out of the sunrise. Peter couldn't make out what it was, but one of the centaurs was carrying something or someone. Peter rushed over, hoping that it was Edmund they were carrying, and as the centaurs came to a halt, Peter saw that it was indeed Edmund, but only his pale body, which even now was already stiffening. Susan and Lucy came up beside Peter, who had just laid Edmund on the ground, and the centaurs left the siblings to grieve their brother. Edmund was buried with full military honors just outside the camp. After the funeral, Aslan told Peter that in order to defeat the witch, he needed to launch a small assault on the witch's camp to distract her army, while another task force came in from another direction to kill the witch herself. Peter agreed to this, and as the army prepared for the mission, Peter, defying Aslan's orders, slipped away as dusk fell in order to kill the witch himself. A few hours after Peter was found missing, a messenger from the witch's camp came and told the Narnians that they would kill Peter unless the two daughters of Eve gave themselves up. Susan and Lucy were beside themselves and didn't know what to do, and they went to consult with Aslan, but he was nowhere to be found. Aslan had left Narnia. Because Peter had gone against Aslan's orders, Aslan told the generals that Peter must suffer the consequences. Susan and Lucy decided to take matters into their own hands and slip through the woods to the witch's camp. They found Peter tied to a pallet on the outskirts of the camp. He was guarded by a rather large minotaur. Peter's sword lay on a table nearby. Taking careful aim, Susan fired her bow, but the arrow ricocheted off the minotaur's armor. Startled, the minotaur grunted and charged after them, axe drawn. Susan and Lucy ran towards Peter, trying to set him free, but Peter yelled at them to run. Susan fired another arrow, but this one missed the minotaur completely, and instead hit one of the ropes that bound Peter. Upon having one of his hands free, Peter attempted to reach his sword, but he was just barely out of his reach. The minotaur was making a massive amount of noise and alerting the rest of the witch's camp. Peter reached out as far as he could in order to reach his sword, but only his fingertips made contact with the handle. The minotaur turned and saw what Peter was doing, trying to reach for his sword, and swung its axe onto Peter's hand, crushing his fingers and partially cutting through them. However, the impact of the axe sent the sword flying into the minotaur's heart. Quickly, Peter shoved the blade deeper into the minotaur with his free hand. The minotaur sank to the ground, lifeless. Lucy quickly cut Peter loose with her dagger, and Susan rushed over, tearing part of her dress off in order to make a temporary bandage for Peter's hand. After quickly dressing Peter's wound, the trio set off towards the lamppost. They made it to the lamppost without too much difficulty, but Peter had lost a fair amount of blood by this time, making him weaker by the second. At the lamppost, Peter threw his sword into the woods, hoping that whoever found it would succeed where they had failed. Now I'm going to end it right there, guys, because I want you all to decide how it ends in your own minds. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's a bit darker than a normal fan fiction is, but that's the way I designed it to be, so I guess I designed it right. Anyway, as always, please make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And if you have any more thoughts, suggestions, comments, anything at all, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get you as soon as I can. And as always, if you have any more suggestions on what you want to see in the future, please let me know as well. So until next time, my fellow Narnians, this has been Narnia Lore.